Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari.
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari.
Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari.
Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari.
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari. Gopi Janavallabha Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Gopalabha Radha Gopalabha Radhe. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jai Gauranitai, 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 Jai Gauranitai. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Kaushik, you're going to talk now?
Muktavandya Prabhu for a wonderful kirtan. So, just to give a small introduction, Muktavandya Prabhu is met devotees in 1970 at the age of 18 in Boylston Street, Boston. He has been practicing Krishna consciousness ever since for the past 51 years. He got initiated by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and then he moved into the Boston Temple in 1976. And then he moved away for a few years to live in Gita Nagari, but he has opened his heart and come back to us. Prabhuji got his second initiation from His Holiness Satsarup Swami Maharaj. Thank you so much, Muktavandya Prabhu, for offering to give us your association in this lecture. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Haribol. It's a good day today. Induleka and Gangadhar Prabhu were on the altar this morning. And it's really nice. And we've been having a darshan open most of the day and yesterday. And a lot of people have been coming. So things are really, really looking up and starting to develop a lot. And also there's Harinam on the Boston Commons today. These are all really good things. Yeah, nothing can stop Lord Chaitanya's movement. We just have to play our little tiny part in it. We're so small, but we can do something. And we just do the best we can, like the ant and Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, or different, whatever kind of bug it was. It was bringing grains of sand to make the bridge to Lanka. And Lord Ramachandra said, he's doing as much for building the bridge as Hanuman is. Hanuman was throwing peaks of mountains into the ocean. So that's us. We're very, very small, but we can do something, and Krishna will appreciate it. Prabhupada will certainly appreciate it. One of the qualities of Krishna, and definitely the disciple of Prabhupada and the spiritual masters in disciplic succession, one of the qualities is gratefulness. So Krishna is like you. If somebody does something nice for you, you out of just wanting to just please you, just do something nice, then you appreciate them. You're grateful. Any decent, halfway civilized human being, even a dog or cat, any kind of animal, if you do something nice for them, they're grateful. So nobody can be more grateful than Krishna. And nobody can be more grateful than Krishna's devotees. After all, when Prabhupada came to this country at the advanced age of 70, he was alone. He didn't have any resources except for Krishna's care, which is everything. But from the external point of view, he had no money, no contacts, no resources practically of any kind. And so when a few people started to join him, especially when he got to 26 Second Avenue, and serious devotees started coming very, very quickly and they didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness until they met Prabhupada. I mean, it's accepted and stated by Prabhupada in various places that not only they, but devotees in general have had some devotional service in their past lives. And therefore, when we heard about Krishna, we were attracted. We wanted to know, what is this? What is this? And just like there was one girl who came just recently, her name is Jay. She just gave her name as Jay, the letter J. So I call her Jai, of course. And so as soon as she got a book about Krishna and started reading it, she started crying. When she saw Prabhupada's picture, she's in her early or mid-20s, I guess, but had no previous contact in this life with Krishna consciousness. But as soon as she came in contact, she immediately took to Krishna consciousness very seriously. Unfortunately, she moved to Germany, and now she is connected with the devotees in Berlin. So anyway, we lost her from Boston, which isn't nice, but she's with the devotees in Berlin. So everyone, there's some attraction for Krishna in the beginning, and especially with the early devotees. I know specifically that Prabhupada said that many of them were with him in a previous life, and they came to help him preach again. And I'm sure those disciples, many of the Prabhupada disciples who have left their bodies now, they've gone to Prabhupada wherever he is, and they're helping him in his mission, whatever his service is now. If he's preaching somewhere else, on a different planet, a different universe, there's nothing hard for Krishna to arrange. It's not like sometimes people question the God, he creates the universe, but who could create the universe? Who could make all those very specific relationships, very detailed arrangements, and create this thing? It's not possible. A person couldn't do that, they think, because when they think of a person, Prabhupada says they think in comparison to themselves, which is, Prabhupada gives us the frog philosophy. Everyone knows the story of the frog who's lived in the well, and his friend goes to the Atlantic Ocean, and he comes back and he tells the frog in the well, who's never seen the ocean, never been outside of his well, he says, you wouldn't believe the body of water I saw. And the frog in the well says, well, big? Was it twice as big as my well? Was it, 5 times as big as my well? Maybe 10 times. That would be really big. And so he has no idea. He's comparing it, the Atlantic Ocean, trying to use his well as the comparison. So that's ludicrous. So, but that's what the conditioned soul does, who is still in a very gross ignorance, and he thinks, well, no, there couldn't be God. Maybe there's something as the absolute truth. Maybe the Mayavadi, the impersonalist. That's what I've been reading in the Chaitanya Charitamrita just recently, where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Mayapur, when Lord Chaitanya went there, first of all, he took care of Lord Chaitanya, although he was the head of an impersonalist school, a very renowned scholar, a very highly respected person, spiritual person, they thought. And so Lord Chaitanya looked on him very favorably. He was very grateful for his service. He took really good care of him and all his disciples, all his followers that came with him from Mayapur. And so Lord Chaitanya was very grateful to him. And he didn't care that he was an impersonalist. He determined that he would correct his misunderstandings, which is what preaching is. It's not that we denigrate anyone or anything like that for being a gross hedonist or an impersonalist or an atheist, even a big atheist. We don't condemn. We do condemn the behavior, the ideas, but we don't condemn the person. So Lord Chaitanya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sat Lord Chaitanya down, and he started preaching to him. He said, you're a young sannyasi. How will you be able to maintain your vows of sannyas? And your mind will have a tendency to go to sense gratification. So I have to I have to preach to you. So I have to give you enlightenment in the Vedanta knowledge. So he sat Lord Chaitanya down and he talked to him, lectured him for 7 days straight. And at the end of 7 days, he told Lord Chaitanya that you've just been sitting there, haven't said anything. You would think, even if you don't understand what I'm saying, you should at least ask some questions, but you don't say anything. Or maybe you don't understand at all. And Lord Chaitanya, I'm in this part right now, and Lord Chaitanya told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said, I understand Vedanta very well, but I don't understand what you're saying. Your explanation, and he's talking to, of course, he's Radharani and Krishna combined. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's playing the part of a young sannyasi, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is a much senior person, highly respected. So but Lord Chaitanya is completely independent to speak to anyone in any way that he likes and to rectify anybody's philosophy if they're wrong. And so the impersonal idea, the impersonal absolute idea is wrong because it denies that the absolute truth is a person. That's a very bad mistake. It's a very detrimental, it's very dangerous. Lord Chaitanya himself warned that anyone who hears the Mayavadi philosophy, his spiritual understanding can be lost. Even a devotee can become bewildered by hearing the Sharirakabhasya by Shankaracharya. So Lord Chaitanya told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that he said, I can understand Vedanta, but your explanations simply cover the real meaning of Vedanta, the way the clouds cover the sun in the sky. The sun can't actually be covered by the clouds, just as Prabhupada often gives the example. The sun is so big and so powerful, the clouds may extend for a few miles or maybe a few hundred miles, but the sun is greatly, greatly larger than a few hundred miles. So, and that's the example, a very nice example for how the living entity is covered by the illusion of Maya. The sun creates the clouds by evaporating water from the ocean, and they're collected in the sky. So the sun creates the clouds, but the clouds cover the vision of the person on the ground from seeing the sun. So that's the example that Krishna creates Maya. And from our point of view, as conditioned souls, we are covered by the illusion of Maya that's created by Krishna, but it gives us the darkness of illusion that makes us understand that there is no Krishna, there is no God. And Prabhupada says in various places that there are many intelligent people, conditioned souls, very intelligent people, but they misuse their intelligence. Their knowledge is stolen by illusion. Maya aprita means they may be very intelligent from the material point of view with computers or any kind of science or any branch of knowledge. They may be very, very intelligent, but if they use their intelligence to deny the existence of God, then that is called Maya aprita. Their knowledge is stolen by illusion. They sound like intelligent people, There's some material intelligence there, but what's the use of it? It's simply prolonging and deepening their illusion. And Prabhupada says that in various places that the arguments that they use to deny the existence of Krishna are given to them by Krishna. Krishna reciprocates with everyone according to their desire. With the devotees, he reciprocates with us by giving us the understanding of how we can return to him in Goloka Vrindavan. We can go back home, back to Godhead, very easily. It's not difficult for us to go back home, back to Godhead, if we're just sincere and serious. Prabhupada often gave those as two qualifications for making progress in Krishna consciousness. That if a devotee is very sincere means I really want Krishna. Like George Harrison's song, My Sweet Lord, I really want to see you, I really want to know you, Lord, but it takes so long, my Lord. So that's sincerity. Everyone knows what sincerity is. And you don't have to be an educated person, or you don't have to be raised in a Vedic family or anything like that. You don't have to have any real qualifications. You just have to be a human being. But you're capable of being sincere, and you're capable of being serious. So as devotees, we know. I know so many ISKCON devotees in my life, throughout my life, so many devotees, and they're so sincere, they're so serious, they're determined that they want Krishna. So Krishna reciprocates with us by making himself available to us very easily. All we have to do is simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We just have to listen to Prabhupada's lectures. We just have to read Prabhupada's books. We just have to bring flowers to the temple and go out chanting on Harinam Sankirtan. We have to distribute his books. There's nothing complicated or difficult to do. We have to wash the pots for Krishna. We have to cook for Krishna. And these are all things that we're going to do anyway. We're going to read some book. We're going to listen to something about someone. We're going to wash our pots, cook for ourselves. So we just do it for Krishna. There's nothing difficult in Krishna consciousness. Everything is very straightforward. So Krishna reciprocates, and Krishna is so grateful for even the smallest service that is done. Another characteristic of Krishna that's related to gratefulness is that Krishna magnifies our service. I think I talked about this last time, but this is a very important point. As like parents, when their young child, or any little child does something, some little thing, draws a little picture, and this is stick figures. This is mommy, this is daddy, this is me, and just some stick figures with no artistic ability at all. But the parents make a big deal out of it. They say, oh, what a beautiful picture you've done. And they mean it. To them, it's very beautiful. They're not just saying it. To them, it's nice. So Krishna is like that with us. We do some little service, but Krishna makes a big deal out of it. Oh, you did nice offering. Thank you for making that sweet rice or that sabji. Thank you for the flower you gave me on my altar. Thank you for chanting my holy name. Krishna is grateful, and he magnifies our sincere endeavor to please him. So with the atheists, Krishna also reciprocates with them. He said, oh, you don't want me? Well, okay, then you don't have to have me. You want to stay in illusion and think of yourself as independent from me. You don't think you need me. You don't want me. So you stay under the jurisdiction of Maya. You stay in illusion. And part of that illusion is I'll give you arguments that sound like they make some kind of sense, that you can use to deny my existence. That's what you want. You want to deny my existence. You can do it. And so that's a reciprocation with Krishna and the demoniac mentality. And the impersonalist is still, he's on a spiritual path, on his spiritual path. And in some places in Prabhupada's books, he gives the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, some credit that they're aspiring transcendentalists. He calls them transcendentalists. But sometimes he gives them that credit, but mostly when he talks to, like, probably 98% of the time, when he talks about the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, he's extremely critical. He goes into great length in some places, like in this chapter where Lord Chaitanya is preaching to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Prabhupada goes into great length, quoting from various scriptures to contradict, to deconstruct, and refute the points that the impersonalists make, because they are a problem, a big problem. Because it's like, if you're going, let's say, suppose you're going somewhere in your car, and before there was GPS and people used to ask directions from people in gas stations, or I used to do this, or use a map. And so you're driving around, you're asking people how to get there, and you may make some wrong turns, but you're getting close. And suppose you're almost there, and you ask somebody, how do I get to this place? I know I'm almost there. And the person gives you completely wrong directions. You're close, but, or he says, no, you're there. You are there. So what a shame. You put so much time and effort into trying to get this destination, and you almost made it, but because of someone's bad advice at the last minute, you don't get there. So that's like the impersonalist. The impersonalists, they've made some progress. They are trying to renounce sense gratification, to be very renounced, and study the Vedanta sutras. They're very industrious, very determined. They work very hard, trying to control the mind and the senses. Of course, they don't have the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, so they can't. So it's very difficult for them to control the senses, because there's nothing to replace. They don't experience the higher taste, and therefore they can't give up their strong tendency for sense gratification that every conditioned soul has, so they can be easily diverted. The devotees have the higher taste of prasadam, of chanting the holy name, of sankirtan, of reciprocating in devotional service, in love with Krishna. Not that they were so advanced now, we don't experience so much love of Krishna, but we know what we're shooting for. We know Krishna, love of Krishna is available to us. And we do get reciprocation, big reciprocation from Krishna in many, many ways all along the way. So for the devotees, we are capable of renouncing sense gratification, or for the time being, taking it in a regulated way with prasadam, with marriage, with regulated sense gratification is there in Krishna consciousness. Ultimately, you have to give everything up. At least at the point of death, there's no more marriage, there's no more taking prasadam, there's no more even drinking water. After a while, there's no more breathing. So eventually we give up all sense gratification. But even in our current state, we're making very rapid advancement within our own ashram, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas ashram, with a regulated amount of sense gratification. So anyways, the impersonalists, they're coming close. They're making spiritual progress, but they won't take the final step, which is the crucial step, the most important step. They won't take that step of surrendering to Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna is a person. It can't, Prabhupada, we hear that, we know that, we repeat it. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. But even that, the most basic idea in Krishna consciousness that God is a person, even that we don't have so much realization about yet. Although we do have faith in it, and we are understanding it more and more progressively. But the impersonalists, they won't accept it. They think, no, God can't be a person because I'm a person. I can't create a universe. I can't do any of the things any of these miraculous things. I can't do them. I'm a person. I know other people. Some of them are very powerful. Some of them are much more intelligent than me. They can't create a universe. So God must not be a person. Or the absolute, no, can't even talk about God. God is, they can talk about the absolute truth, of which the Brahman effulgence is an aspect of the absolute truth. And they can be liberated into the Brahman effulgence. And Prabhupada gives a nice, I heard him on one tape, on one lecture, he gave a nice example of that. And he said that just like if a child is born, but he finds his life to be very troublesome, very difficult, and full of suffering. And so if he says to his mother, says, "Mother, if this is too difficult, can you put me back in your belly?" These are Prabhupada's words. And of course, the mother can't do that. And she doesn't want to do that. But Krishna, the impersonalist, in effect, is saying to God that, no, I'm suffering too much in this material world. I'm suffering too much. Let me merge into the into the Brahmajyoti, into the Brahman effulgence. Let me merge. I don't want to be a person anymore. And I don't recognize that the absolute truth is a person and that I can be happy in his association. I don't recognize that as truth. But so I want to deny my individuality, give up, lose. You can never lose your individuality. No one can, but you can desire that out of a sense of suffering. So, yeah, so the impersonalist is diverted tragically at the last minute, you could say. But they can also be rectified, as Lord Chaitanya did with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya after Lord Chaitanya preached to him about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, of course, it's Lord Chaitanya personally talking to him. So the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's heart was changed, and he immediately became a great follower, a disciple of Lord Chaitanya. He gave up all his impersonal convictions and he surrendered in pure devotional service to Lord Chaitanya. He became one of the very well-known associates, followers of Lord Chaitanya. So anyone can be rectified from any status of life, including the impersonal status, and then can approach the highest goal and go back home, back to Godhead also. I think I was going to start with this, but I got started talking. So I'm just going to read one verse and purport from Prahlad's teachings to his school friends. Prahlad Maharaj was, from birth, of course, he was a great devotee, having heard Narada Muni's instructions while he was in the womb of his mother. And so Prahlad Maharaj is a great soul, he's one of the Mahajans. And so he was in the school with all the boys, including Prahlad, were sons of demons. And so they were raised like that. And their teachers were demons, sons of Shukracharya, Chanda and Amarka. And they would instruct the boys in the demoniac ways of life, demoniac education, divide and conquer. This person is my friend, this person is my enemy. And how can I make my way in material life? How can I get sense gratification? How can I dominate other people? So, but when the teachers would go out of the room, Prabhupada says that at the tiffin hour, when the students were left alone to take their lunch, and so Prahlad Maharaj would preach Vaishnava philosophy to his school friends, who were only little boys like him, 5 years old, and they didn't want to hear it. He would talk to them, and they'd say, "Oh, Prahlad, we're only little boys. Let us play." Anyway, Prahlad Maharaj, he talked to them about that, how life is wasted in playing, and then in marriage, and then all kinds of sense gratification. And half of your life is wasted in sleep. And so he made that point to them. And then this is one verse, another verse that Prahlad Maharaj says to his classmates. Yatahi purushas deha Vishnu pado pasarpanam yad esha sarva bhutanam priya atmeshvara suhit. The human form of life affords one a chance to return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity, especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Vishnu. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul, and the well-wisher of all other living beings. And this is Prabhupada's purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantimrichati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Simply by understanding these three facts, that the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the proprietor of the entire creation, that he is the best well-wishing friend of all living entities, and that he is the supreme enjoyer of everything, one becomes peaceful and happy. For this transcendental happiness, the living entity has wandered throughout the universe in different forms of life and different planetary systems, but because he has forgotten his intimate relationship with Vishnu, he has merely suffered life after life. Therefore, the educational system in the human form of life should be so perfect that one will understand his intimate relationship with God or Vishnu. Every living entity has an intimate relationship with God. One should therefore glorify the Lord in the adoration Ashantaras, or revive his eternal relationship with Vishnu as a servant in Dasyaras, Sakyaras, or a parent in Vatsalyaras, or a conjugal lover in Madhuryaras. All these relationships are on the platform of love. Vishnu is the center of love for everyone, and therefore the duty of everyone is to engage in the loving service of the Lord. There's a little more to the purport, but there's not much more time, so I'll talk about that. And so first Prabhupada talks about the verse 529, he calls it the peace formula. Everyone wants to have peace between nations, between races, between religions, between family members, between everyone is wants some peace, especially everyone wants some peace of mind. Without peace of mind, what good is anything else, any other kind of peace that there may be? We want peace of mind. Our minds are so disturbed in the qualities listed in the first canto of Kali Yuga. The statement is there, but above all, in Kali Yuga, everyone's mind is always disturbed. And even as devotees who recognize these three facts, that Krishna is the controller, the Lord of all planets, is the enjoyer of all our sacrifices, all our austerities, and he's the best friend of every living being. Even we who recognize and accept those statements as facts, even so, our minds are disturbed in many ways. So we want to be happy, and we've made great steps forward already towards having peace, at least in our own lives, by knowing Krishna to be the Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes, the goal of all our sacrifices, the enjoyer of everything that we do, and our best friend. Is the best well-wishing friend of all living entities. And Prabhupada uses this statement, this phrase, 3 times in this verse, that the living entity has wandered throughout the universe in different forms of life and different planetary systems, but because he has forgotten his intimate relationship with Vishnu. And in the next sentence, he uses the same words. the human form, make our lives so perfect that one will understand his intimate relationship with God or Vishnu. And the next sentence, he says it again. Every living entity has an intimate relationship with God. So everyone is looking for those intimate relationships. In the material world, we have husband and wife, parents and children. These are the most intimate relationships, brothers and sisters. These are the most intimate relationships. But even in these relationships, there's often quarrel and strife and disagreement. And even if two people are very compatible, they don't fight with each other, they're very on the same wavelength, basically. They love each other, but still, the wife isn't in the heart of the husband. We use that phrase, but the wife isn't literally in the heart of the husband. The husband isn't literally in the heart of the wife, or the children and the parents and the children. According to our birth and our relationships that we establish within this life or within any life, these are very close relationships. But the only way that they can be perfect is to center all our relationships, all our activities, all our thoughts, all our words, everything around Krishna. And husband and wife help each other to serve Krishna, help each other to chant Hare Krishna, help each other, help the children. And as far as possible, the children should help the parents to surrender to Krishna. As much as we help each other to surrender to Krishna in devotional service, so that then we become the actual friend, the actual intimate companion, or friend, relative of other people. Without that, the relationships are all very shallow. So so we have our intimate relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada emphasizes it 3 times because it's so central to our philosophy. We're not just worshiping God. We are worshiping God, but we're not just worshiping God. We're not just offering some official service for some benediction, some reward. And I heard Prabhupada say yesterday, he was talking about devotional service. Devotional service means it's done with love. And he used this example. He said that if I ask you for a glass of water and you bring me a glass of water and put it down in front of me and say, okay, here's your glass of water, then what is that? That's, okay, I got the water, but there was no love in the offering. So maybe I needed the water, and I'm really grateful, even though there was no love. But Krishna doesn't need water. He doesn't need our offering of patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. He doesn't need it. He's the source of all the water, all the fruit, all the leaves, all the vegetables. He doesn't need our offering, but he will accept it. Offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, and I'll accept it. I'll accept it gladly. I'll accept it in devotional love that you want to exchange with me. It's not just a glass of water. You offer it with devotion, with love. And then it becomes a very nice offering. Does anyone have any questions? I'll leave a few minutes now, or questions or comments, of course. And if no one has anything, then I'll talk for a few more minutes. Does anyone have anything to say? Yeah.
Hare
All right.
Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I really like how you made the comparison, like when the toddlers are drawing
Yeah.
and now a service, like it really made sense to me and it took a lot of anxiety from my heart. So it's like, oh yeah, that's what it is. So now I'm peaceful. And if parents appreciate little kids, the little drawings. So I hope
Yeah.
Krishna appreciates my little doodling around. Thank you. That was really nice class. That's all I wanted to say. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And yeah. It's the Krishna consciousness is such a simple thing. There's nothing complicated about it. Oftentimes we overanalyze, over complicated. Prabhupada's explanations, his presentation of Krishna consciousness was always so direct and so to the point and so simple and so pure. The gopis, when their presentation, whatever it was to Krishna, was just so simple and pure. And Prabhupada often makes the point when he's talking about the residents of Vrindavan. We all know this point Prabhupada makes, is that they didn't care if Krishna is God. They didn't know Krishna is God. And Prabhupada says, and it's in, I heard him say it yesterday, and it's in the Krishna book in a few places, that sometimes Krishna would do something wonderful. He's always doing something wonderful, lifting Govardhan Hill or killing a demon. And the residents of Vrindavan would say, oh, Krishna is so wonderful. Maybe he's a demigod. Or maybe he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, but that wasn't a big deal to them. They didn't care. And the only thing they cared about was that they loved Krishna. And that's their simple, humble, pure exchange with Krishna. And yeah, so that's our we can think like that. There's nothing complicated. Just offer a flower to Krishna. Just chant Hare Krishna. Try to pay attention. Try to think of the other devotees in a kind way, in a merciful way. Try to serve the other devotees, and that's enough.
Almost time for Arti.
Yeah, it's almost time for Arti. I'm in my room, and because people were still coming in for the darshan, so I came up to my room. So I'm going down to the temple room now for kirtan.